And this is basically what I find is while I'm fasting, I'm in more alpha and theta all of the time, and it's beautiful and healing and very peaceful and allows you to get so close to God. And when you come out of there, you want to go back. So how do you get back there? Well, you can't spend your whole life fasting. So what you have to do is you actually have to baptize yourself. And I don't pour water on my head because in Greek mysticism, earth, water, air, fire, new mind are the levels of consciousness. Earth, beta, air, water, alpha, air, theta, fire, delta. These are the stages of human brain cycles, human consciousness, and they were known back then. And what I do is I purposely find ways to raise myself up from earth to water.
Weapons always close to end, for he has seen too much hatred. Only weapon that he chooses is love, universal call, now for justice. Hey
guys, I just want to say about altering our states of consciousness. Last week I was in a 7-day fast, but 6 days on just water, so I only drank water for 6 days. I did it not for spiritual reasons, but I got the spiritual benefits from it. I had the flu is why I did it, for the record, and it made me feel much better to do that. You get no symptoms when you water fast, and it gets over with quicker. Because of that though, had a very altered and heightened state of consciousness, and God used that many times. He whispered in my ear to do certain things. I've just made a video speaking about depression where I mentioned this, where a young lady contacted me, and out of all the lots of messages I received, hundreds of messages I received this week from all the new subs, etc., I clicked on only her message one night, and she was the one who was asking for some help with something, and I knew God had put me there, and because I was light, he was able to put me there. But I'm coming now I'm feeding. Obviously I have to eat because I have a life to live. I'm flying tomorrow, got the NGO to run, got the kids to look after, I've got developments to do, I've got all of the admin to do, I've got to sort out our new Christmas projects, and I've got to sort out the constructors, and lots to do. I require a caloric source to do that, or my brain won't work well enough. Eventually, I'll just get too tired. So I have to start eating, but as I start eating, I get further and further away from that lightness, from that alignment, that attunedness, that closeness with God. And it's sad to do. You don't like it, but I'm not a monk. I'm not a full-blown monastic teacher who can sit there just teaching about scripture and so on and so forth all the time. And if I were, I'm sure fasting would play a way bigger part in my life than what it has been of late. But as I drift out, I feel my connection not severing, but just getting that little bit quieter, which means I have to do more to get into the middle of myself, to be able to get back to that connection so I can hear what God needs me to do, or so God can answer my prayers. And prayer is prayer. This is where you talk to God. But hearing your prayer, hearing the answer to your prayer, comes when your mind is silent, and only comes for most people when their mind is silent, or at least when they are present enough to perceive certain bizarre coincidences we call synchronicities, which are not coincidence at all, which are leading you towards the answer of your prayers, which God has done with me many, many times. So I feel myself coming away from there, and I feel a need to stay more centered. It takes more effort because I'm coming further out the fast. I've got to stay more connected to that centered part of myself. And to do that, I've got to get more and more quiet as much as possible, even though my life is getting louder and louder because I've got so much work to do. And this is my journey. My journey is not a monastic monk. As I say, I don't sit in prayer and meditation all the time. I'm active. I'm an activist. But I'm an activist for God. I'm not an activist for myself, but I use my connection to Source to do it all of it. My bank account is in God. This is who I pray to. This is who I always fall back on. I am under a great deal of pressure emotionally and mentally and physically doing what I do, and my fallback is to fall to God every time. There's no one else to fall on. I don't fall to my wife. I don't fall to the children or my friends or family because it's too much. If it's too much for me, it's too much for another human being. So I put it on God. And it's when I forget to put it on God, I get problems with stress, etc. which is an ongoing battle I've got with regards to my illusory sense of pride of, oh, I'm running this whole show when I just have to get to, I fast. No, I'm not. God's running it. And this is the battle that we all face as human beings. Our egos always want to challenge us with all that we do. And God is very patient with all of us as we learn that lesson, as we fight that battle within ourselves. But as I'm drifting away from that time of fasting, I feel much more need to sit quietly and silently. Whereas while I was fasting, it was happening more automatically because my brain was getting less fuel and also less stimulus from the external world because I wasn't doing work, I wasn't opening as many emails, videos, so on and so forth. And this is the importance of altering our states of consciousness. And this is something that's been known since the dawn of written scriptures, from the Upanishads, beautiful writings, all the way through to Greek mysticism, which imprints itself in the back layers of the Christian texts as well. And it's such a beautiful thing. If you go over to India, they have words for the different states of consciousness, but in English we don't have them. But in ancient Greek, they used certain labels in modern language you could say we have brain cycles, but they do represent a different state of consciousness. And you've got beta, alpha, theta, delta, and then in mysticism you would get quintessence or spirit or the new mind. And this is basically what I find is while I'm fasting, I'm in more alpha and theta all of the time, and it's beautiful and healing and very peaceful and allows you to get so close to God. And when you come out of there, you want to go back. So how do you get back there? Well, you can't spend your whole life fasting. So what you have to do is you actually have to baptize yourself. And I don't pour water on my head because in Greek mysticism, earth, water, air, fire, new mind are the levels of consciousness. Earth, beta, air, water, alpha, air, theta, fire, delta. These are the stages of human brain cycles, human consciousness, and they were known back then. And what I do is I purposely find ways to raise myself up from earth to water, because I need to be baptized. Ideally, I need to be baptized with fire as often as I can every week, so as I can totally fall into the very middle of myself and in the complete state of no thought whatsoever, no carnal mind whatsoever, as the Bible instructs you to have. And so I can just enjoy the glory of God's creation, and with it, my connectivity to God and my love for God can reign much higher. And in that state of consciousness, then you can start receiving the different angles of light from reality, which carry photons, which have messages or information, and thus you embrace the realm of the messengers of light, which the Bible calls angels. Modern day science, we call it a photon. Angel, messenger of light, photon travels on an angle of light. And the alteration of my consciousness is a constant journey, and I feel myself on that journey today more than I have in a while, because I'm just coming out of that fasting state, and tomorrow I have to fly, so I'm busy and I don't want to be, because I hunger going back there. But at the same time, the other part of me, the friend part of my carnal mind, the friend part of my ego, also is hungering, getting the work done in Tanzania, because I know what it means to some of those children and people out there that we get everything done that we need to get done. Because they don't stand a chance, many people. When you are constantly suffering and having to labour and seek food, you can find God without any problem, but you do begin to wonder, naturally, what it is that God has in store for you that you can't feed your children again today. And this is not God's fault. This is the fault of the system. And the system is not in any way subject to the laws of God, because the system was created by the prince of this world. And as we know, the prince of this world is a rebellion against God. And thus the systems, the governments, the inequality, the financial systems, so on and so forth, for all they can help us, when controlled by the Christ consciousness, they don't help us because they are controlled by the Antichrist consciousness. And this is where we have the problems that we face. Children being born into systems that are not safe, that are not fair, not safe, and don't have guarantees of equality. And thus, on we go, trying to fix these problems. But I can't fix them unless I get back to that state of being. And I can't get back there without finding ways to alter my consciousness. And if I wasn't unwell, I'd be going for long runs on an empty stomach, as I like to do, or so on and so forth. But instead, all I can do is sit quietly and follow my breath until I'm not thinking. And when I'm not thinking, I can shut off the carnal mind, and I can talk to God, and also refresh and refuel myself in the same way that I was getting in a big way whilst I was fasting. So, consciousness. Get used to the idea that we as human beings, we have a constant state of consciousness. There's nothing wrong with trying to change that, and the idea is in changing that you can perceive new aspects of your reality and different ways to perceive your reality. And this is important. We must teach our children that. Teach our children that altering your state of consciousness is part of human life. You're not supposed to do it with drugs. Although in the West we are quite happy to do it with drugs because everybody's drinking alcohol most of the time. We like to alter our state of consciousness. We just like to alter it in the most unproductive way possible, unfortunately. But get used to the idea that altering your state of consciousness is part of your human workings. And it's a wonderful thing. Who doesn't like to feel in their heart on the verge of tears and so sensitive to all the beauty around them? Everybody loves that feeling. You're so light you can get anything done. Who doesn't despise being bogged down and stuck in your thoughts and depressed and don't know what to do? It's all altered state of consciousness. You'd rather be up in your heart. As the Hindus would say, in your heart chakra. You'd rather be up in that state of consciousness where you're on the verge of tears and open and overwhelmed by the beauty of life. You've got to get into the habit of seeing it that way and then working on the techniques and tools we have to alter that. And we can do that instead of just, which most of us are doing, wasting our time with mindless entertainment and so on and so forth. We can work on constructive ways to alter and control the states of consciousness within ourselves to be more productive as a species. God bless. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.